Welcome to Six Pack Discussions, where Cody and Jared take on the biggest, most talked about headlines with logic, passion, and a six-pack of beer.
If you're listening, we challenge you to take an unbiased view of the world, because we know these conversations are complicated. So sit down, crack a beer, and welcome a new perspective. Okay, guys, coming in, new episode, Six Pack Discussions. Me and Jared were just talking about, so we live, what would you say, 6 miles, 8 miles away from each other?
Sure. 6.
So last night, we're in Chandler, Gilbert, Arizona, south of Phoenix, Arizona, and kind of a random storm hits us, right? A little bit of rain, a lot of wind, right? And I'm sitting here in my office, which is also where we record. Dark. I actually don't even have the lights on, just kind of doing a little work on the laptop, and it sounds like Jared and his wife are laying down in bed. And all of a sudden there is this just absolute thunderous roar that goes on for, I would say, 20 seconds. Oh, what were you thinking?
I would say 20. I was going to go 6 to 10.
I guess I'm an exaggerator.
Because that's a long time.
I
Think about a long, consistent noise.
100%. It was long, and the first thing that goes through my head, and before even Jared said what went through his head, he was about to say it, and I was like, aliens. It was the weirdest thunder. And there was no lightning, there was no thunder prior. This was the first strike that created thunder in our area. And it was just such a long, thunderous roar that we're just not used to. Maybe in other areas where there's more thunder, but
I've never heard that noise in my life.
And all of a sudden, I pull up a video. I'm like, hey, Jared, was this what you were kind of thinking it could be? And I pulled up, for everybody listening, a clip of War of the Worlds, that sound of when the aliens land and those tripods start doing those kind of musical organ sounds. And he's like, that's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, dude, isn't that weird?
Like, I'm not even kidding right now.
I know.
My heart
mine
was
too.
actually going fast. I'm like, what the fuck's going on?
What is this noise? And it keeps on going. That's how I was like, okay,
maybe I'm lowballing it, but I just think in my head, like, a long continuous 6 to 8 seconds, 6 to 10 seconds is a long time for a weird noise like that.
Well, I knew it was longer because I got to the point where, okay, that's not thunder anymore. And then I had enough time to think about what it could be, and it was still going. That's why I was thinking,
maybe I'm low.
You know?
Maybe I'm low.
But still, long time. So,
dude, have you actually searched the internet as far as I heard a loud noise in Chandler, Gilbert?
Guarantee there's some people out there.
I haven't.
Okay,
I probably should have today.
We'll do it after. Okay, so, Jared, what are we drinking today, buddy?
Today we are drinking Huss's Low Hazy IPA. It's low cal and low coal.
Cool. I'm in.
All right.
So, dude, hey, did you know that if you wanted to braid my hair right now, or braid maybe your wife's hair at home, and you wanted to charge them a fee, that would be illegal?
Isn't that crazy?
Say, guys, we're going to be talking about state licensing requirements for occupations. So I'm making this joke, but it's actually real.
I'll say it's not a joke.
I think in 43 or 42 states, to braid hair for a fee, right, as an occupation, to do so without the license in that state is illegal. How crazy is that?
So as Cody's talking about, we're going to be talking about professional licensure.
Yeah.
Today. It's a really interesting concept. One thing that it's borderline laughable whenever you think about the difference between an EMT and an electrician or HVAC, depending on what region they're in the country.
100%.
You know, we're talking something about a year versus 4 years.
Huge.
And you'd be like, oh, well, clearly the medical professional would be longer.
Nope. Electrician.
Or HVAC. Yeah. Hell, I don't know. I didn't realize this until my research, that these licensures are even oftentimes regionalized. For example.
Oh, yeah, please.
For example, let's say I wanted to be an HVAC technician, a licensed HVAC technician in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
And those are guys that install like the duct for air conditioning and heating in your home.
Thank you for clarifying. In Tulsa, Oklahoma, it would take 1 year and I can kind of be on my feet and I'm fully licensed.
Yeah, normally you'd be doing it under like an apprenticeship or something like that, right?
In Little Rock, Arkansas?
3 years.
3 years.
And I bet the pay is about the same after 3 years.
I didn't get to that wormhole, but isn't that crazy? So, I mean, we're talking, what?
That's
6 hour drive? 6 hour drive difference
and there's
two
a 2
extra years
for
Couldn't
the
believe it.
same. And hell, I bet you some of your jobs could even be in the other state at some cases, right? When you're that close away.
I know.
Which I want to tell you a little bit about Arizona, because we actually are the first state to pass a law. I don't know if you saw this, to actually respect other states' licenses. So very interesting there. Unique
like
play.
almost a reciprocity.
Very, very, very similar.
So
normally you would, if you say you were an HVAC person in Arkansas, if you moved to Oklahoma, you would have to go back and get your license requirements. Now, you're not going to probably have to spend 2 years or 3 years. What you would do is need to show that you've been doing it for so long, take a test.
And is that recent?
Arizona just passed this in like 2 or 3 years ago.
So that's interesting. So with architecture, for example, they have this law of reciprocity essentially, to where outside of the Californias of the world, the Floridas of the world, where natural disasters are more often, they have this reciprocity effect to where if you're a licensed architect in Arizona, you can just simply apply for a new fee, and therefore your license will be good for Arkansas or Oklahoma.
I think some of the licensing boards are national associations, versus
like NCARB,
exactly, versus state associations. So that would be the difference, right? I would imagine if you have a national association, they would probably say, "Hey guys, this is actually legit for 40 states. You just have to kind of apply for the extra cert." But most licenses are state issued.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see your point. Good pushback.
Yeah. So I want to give you a funny story here. Not funny, actually, it's kind of sad to me. But funny in that this is the world that we live in. So this woman, Justina Clayton, she learned how to do traditional African hair braiding as a young girl in Sierra Leone. She immigrated to the U.S., and she started a hair braiding business in Utah, quite literally to braid young girls and women's hair.
Love it.
That had similar types of hair to her.
And I'm assuming, kind of African-American type hair. Or?
I would imagine, yeah, right. I think she learned it in Africa or in Sierra Leone. So probably people that just had certain types of hair that was similar or that you can braid appropriately.
Got it.
And she was making, some money here. But after a few years, the state of Utah actually said, "Hey, you're doing it all illegally. There's going to be fees associated here, and you're no longer able to run your business until you go get a cosmetology license, and you need to prove 2,000 hours of training before you can start braiding hair again." What is that? 2 years worth of training? 2,000 hours, if not more. So that story right there just hits home. Like somebody, let's say that's braided hair for 5-6 years.
Dude, it's only 83 consecutive days without sleep.
Okay, but work hours, which would be
kidding.
I think there's about 1,200 hours in a year, work hours. So 2 years of training to braid hair that she's already probably been successfully doing for 4, 5, 6 years.
Clearly, created a profitable business to where the government even got involved.
Maybe
Right.
not. We don't know, right?
Well,
but
yeah.
still, they were making taxes, but they're like, "Hey, you need to pay this fee because we need to collect the max amount from you as a small business owner, as a hair braider." And so I'm kind of putting that out there as an example of what I would call a little overreach, I would think. And we're going to get into some cases where maybe there is not overreach, but I think in that case, I would say there's a little overreach there.
So this whole concept of licensure and
You're saying licensure? Is it licensee? License? Well, because you're saying licensure, and I'm wondering, I don't use that terminology.
shit, I must have heard.
Licensing is what I would say, but licensure? Are you saying the same word?
No,
Is that a little Texas slang coming out there?
I don't think so. No. I could have sworn I've heard, but whatever.
Okay.
This whole concept of licensing.
Okay.
Licensure. No, I've heard licensure.
Okay, no, you
Whatever.
keep on
Whatever.
using it.
Anyways. Shit, I'm sorry. I lost my train of thought.
I'm sorry, dude. Messing with
It's
your
all good.
language there.
Yeah.
Whole concept.
It's really interesting to me. Not only the trades and professions that are requiring it, but the span in which. And so I went back and forth on my research. And I don't know where you are.
Me neither. Sorry, I don't actually.
But so guys, just for frame reference, I think I've mentioned this on my podcast, on our podcast. I'm sorry, last 7 months. I was super freaking happy for Britt. She finally became a licensed architect here in the state of Arizona. Yep. And then I really just started dissecting everything, like how much it costs to get licensed. The continuing fees that we have to pay various boards to remain licensed.
Yeah.
The continuing education that we have to pay for to remain licensed. And
the stress of passing all those tests.
It's so funny. We were actually going through our office and we've just been purging the last couple of weekends. We'll carve out, 3 or 4 hours to where we just throw on music on the TV and we just purge closets, whatever, you name it, right?
Yeah.
Office. And ironically enough, her and I both have master's degrees. They're not even hung up. They're literally just on our office.
You've seen our degrees. They're like, I don't even know. I think they're underneath the couch or something.
And then all of a sudden she's flipping through this and then she goes, oh, this was an $800 piece of paper. And all it was is you have to, so after you pass all these tests, you have to pay another $800 for the board to review that, you did pass all our tests that we made you pay for, basically. And they give you a piece of paper for the membership.
It's so crazy.
The way they've been able to monetize it is un-effing believable. And look, I understand it, and I now have a deeper appreciation. Obviously, I'm very close to, the architecture community, just, being married to Brittany. I understand it because of the weight that is put on shoulders. I don't understand it for things like cosmetology. I don't really understand it for the whole massage therapy. I think that's interesting. I do understand it for medical professionals because, and this is where I really start leaning here, because how many people, you've been, working in the workforce now for probably this side of 20 years in some capacity?
Yeah.
Right? At least in retail or above. How many people have you encountered to where they all but lied on their resume? They've just been bullshitting, skating through life, especially in sales. How often do you see that? I mean, you've literally, correct me if I'm wrong, but you've literally encountered a coworker that took her ex-husband's resume and passed it off as her own. True or false statement?
That is a true statement.
And she got hired to a very lucrative sales job, correct?
Yeah, with her husband's resume that she just divorced.
Yeah.
How awesome is that?
But can you imagine if someone does that and they try to be like a medical doctor?
Yeah. So I was thinking about this.
I
get it. I think there might be some roles. But I don't know. I don't know. We live in a extremely, what I would call connected, disconnected world, right? And I know it's kind of weird to say, right? Because they're exactly opposites. But what I mean is that we're connected via the internet, but we're not connected to our next door neighbor.
You know what's funny is this false sense of connection.
Yes.
You think if you double tap a picture that, I just talked to Anna the other day.
Yeah.
No, you liked your picture.
She didn't know. She doesn't care. Some people probably do count those, but unless you're the one or the second person, everybody else is just a number on like Instagram or Facebook. And I was thinking about it when I was doing this licensing, which I know it sounds like they're not connected, but all of my best purchase decisions were through a friend. I take a recommendation from a friend like 10x better than it from a marketing advertising or something like that. And I think when you have this licensing idea, and we're getting already into my opinion, I want to go through some background of this, but I want to kind of give you a little bit of pushback because when you have licensing, you kind of expect that anybody you go to that is in a licensed job, that they're going to be able to be competent. That's the goal.
That is the whole reason why you. Yeah. Yep. I am the state of Arizona.
How many people have you dealt with that now after doing this research that were licensed that were not competent? A lot. Let's just say a lot.
Yeah. Let's go with a lot.
Yeah. So yes, you may be licensed, but you may actually not be able to do a good job. And I guarantee Miss Justina Clayton, if she built a business braiding hair for, let's say, 5, 6, 10 years in Sierra Leone, knowing how to do it in a very cultural way that may never have even bridged to America because it was maybe such an isolated society. Maybe she has some type of technique that's unique. She comes here, and she probably built a business, and she's the only one with that type of skill set. That word travels far and wide, and she probably was very successful without a license. So I bet you by word of mouth, she was doing pretty well. And now that she has to go through this whole thing, she may not even be braiding hair right now because it was such a problem. Maybe she's never taken a written exam or something. I don't know. But maybe she's like, this is not worth my 2 years of taking exams. I'm just going to go get a job now as a desk clerk and get rid of my passion and also something that maybe is a need in the culture or the community. So I looked at that and I was thinking, man, you know what? A lot of my best business decisions are or not business, but purchase decisions. Someone recommends something to me. How many times have I recommend something to you and you're like, done.
Yeah.
I'm buying it. Like, okay, if you're telling me it's good, might as well.
Whatever.
Literally, what do we do here? We're like, hey, let's recommend good and bad beers. And we may not be, in your neighborhood, but if you like what we're talking about, maybe you'll like what the beer that we recommend. We're literally doing that here. So that's where I'm kind of sitting at. Hopefully it gives you a little bit of my initial perspective.
And I don't disagree with you. And honestly, I almost went back and forth because, if these licenses are so prestigious, then why is malpractice insurance so high on doctors?
That's very odd, right?
It is. So, I mean, if clearly, because you were like required to have malpractice insurance, so clearly the state doesn't give the whole licensure, i.e. the stamp of approval, like, yep, this Dr. Willis and Dr. Jones cannot fuck this up because I have licensed them.
Yeah.
So why do you require the malpractice insurance?
Might as well.
So I contradict myself. I know this, and it's a very... I don't know where
I know. That's why I said maybe I know where I'm at. I don't. Before you get into second beer, I want to give you a couple things to start thinking about here. Okay, guys. So some of the numbers that I thought were crazy. How many occupations, or what is the percentage of full-time workers that require a certification? Did you see this number?
I think I saw 29%.
Yep, that's the high side. They guess a quarter of Americans, so 1 in 4.
Okay.
So 1 in 4 jobs in America require a license. Damn, that's a lot. That's a lot. And the funny thing is, it's not like it's low income, middle income, or high. It's all gamuts.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally everything from doctors and lawyers to cosmetologists.
Yeah. Yeah. What's the low? I have a graph here. The lowest actually is a certified nursing assistant.
I've never even heard of a CNA.
And then a security guard is number 2. Unarmed, though. Unarmed security guard requires a license in most states. Okay, so I'll give you that to think about. 800 occupations, more than 800 in various states require some type of license. And I'll go through some of them. To give you kind of this perspective of, perspective, I guess. In 1950, only 5% of U.S. workers had some type of occupational license. You're talking about doctors, attorneys, probably architects, and that's where the boat ends. Maybe pilots.
Yeah.
And that's where it ends. And then everyone else is like, hey, if you do a good job, you do a good job.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. So real quick, what do you think about the beer, buddy? Let's give a review.
I'm sorry, did you say beer or cold water?
It is, this is a low-cal drink, and it's an IPA. How'd they do that?
Hazy IPA.
How'd they do it?
This is, let's read the story first. So this is the low Hazy IPA, 109 calories. Our low-calorie Hazy IPA showcasing a ton.
What?
Holy shit. That is the most loosely
maybe they're not
utilization of the word.
Maybe they don't need 2,000 pounds.
A ton of fruit on the nose with candied pineapple, melon, tangerine, and peach notes in this invigorating light brew. Pale yellow in color with a crisp and delicious finish. A perfect blend of Idaho 7, Mosaic, and Amarillo hops make this a hophead's dream without the guilt.
So if you put 2,000 pounds of fruit in the ocean, do you think it would taste like fruit?
Guys, I know marketers lie for a living, but damn, like
Oh my gosh. Who are these guys from? This is from
Huss.
109. No.
This is Huss. Huss
This
Brewing
is Huss
Co.
Brewing?
That's 109 calories. This is Huss.
Damn, Huss.
Brewed with love.
In Tempe.
By 24 people who care.
Drink like a local. 20. How many people work there?
24.
24 people. 4.1 APV. Oh, wow. So this is a low APV, low calorie, hazy IPA. Honestly, I would go with like a Michelob Ultra over this. It's you're getting the same calories pretty much. Actually, you're getting more. You're not getting much more taste. You're really not. I don't think there's much flavor here. What do you think?
I wasn't kidding. Dude, that's why I'm probably going to go lower than it deserves. Because whenever you say hazy IPA,
I know.
You're thinking you're going to get some flavor. Whenever you read a story like a ton, gun to my head, I couldn't have told you about candied pineapple, melon, tangerine, or peach.
Well, candied pineapple makes you think it's going to be sweet. The only fruit taste that I'm getting, which is the worst fruit taste that you could think of, is the rind. I'm getting the rind of like an orange or like a lemon on the top of the roof of my mouth. And that is a very bitter taste.
I wish I was getting that.
I'm getting a 2.5 on this.
Holy shit.
Is that higher than you're going to go? I could drink it, but it's not like it's like special. Oh, you're going like 1.5 or what are you thinking?
Dude, honestly, this is just nothing.
Okay.
This is nothing to me.
1.0. What are you going?
Yeah, I'll go 1.5, honestly.
1.5. Okay.
Like,
I was going high, I think, then. I was maybe being a little gracious.
It's just one of the things where it's not like it tastes bad.
Yeah.
I don't taste anything.
Yeah. You could have a disease that might have got rid of your taste and smell.
Shit.
Let's not go there.
All right. So, Huss, I know we've liked a lot of yours in the past.
I think been a little bit of a miss.
This just isn't for us.
Yeah, not for us. It is low, and I get it. When you go low, it's just like, hey, if you put less sugar in things, it's not as good. Let's be honest. This has less alcohol, has less depth,
less calories.
Less calories.
Yeah,
it's hard to get everything right. I get it.
Just that one of those 24 people is clearly in their marketing team. Maybe just you oversold it.
A little aggressive with the wording there, guys.
A ton of pineapple.
Whatever.
Whatever.
Okay, so thanks for the pickup, though, Jared. I'm going to drink the rest of them, believe me. So how do you get a professional license? I wanted to go through this because you've already mentioned it takes a ton of time.
Yeah.
And maybe a ton of time makes sense for some, but for others, clearly not. And so I wanted to kind of give an idea of, maybe one of our listeners was like, hey, I'm trying to get into one of those fields you mentioned. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to be a security guard. I'm trying to be a cosmetologist. I'm trying to be a massage therapist. Maybe I want to be an architect. So the first thing is there's probably some type of training that you need to go through. Yep. This could be or including school, like a degree program of some sort, associate's degree, bachelor degree, maybe a master's. And there might be also a parallel path of studying training materials that you will also need to do. During that time, or usually upon graduation, or kind of finalizing that class study session, you're probably going to actually get like an apprenticeship or a job in that field as somewhat of a person, what they're going to call gain work experience. So even like a barber, they go to barber school, they work for maybe 6 weeks, 8 weeks in the barber school. They're going to be giving away free haircuts. They're normally going to go get a job somewhere. They're going to be like an associate barber, probably have their manager or somebody watching over them for their first 20 haircuts. If everything looks good, they got the job, right? So, as simple as a barber. So they're going to gain some work experience. As long as that works out, they can go ahead and pass an exam of some sort to secure your license, and now you are a licensed barber, you are a licensed massage therapist, a licensed architect, whatever that certification is. So usually there's some type of schooling or course, training materials that go along with it, some type of work experience, and then an exam of some sort. Sound pretty similar to what you thought?
Yep.
And now here's the thing. That could be a multi-week process or a multi-year process.
Quite literally.
Yeah. So it ranges based on the occupation. I I like these. So I'm going to give you some. These are fun. Rapid fire here.
Oh, shit.
What do you think are the best bang for your buck? Meaning the least amount of time and the highest earning potential for a license right now. So me and you say, you know what? We're just going to go on our own.
I bet
go get a license.
Esthetician.
Nope.
Those suckers make so much money in tips, I feel like, with that little
That's
med
usually under the
spas.
radar, bro.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
Let's see. I would say EMTs.
Nope. They are on the list. They're actually in the bottom category.
Wow. I figured
EMT.
I thought they made around 75.
Dude, I got EMT on here. Now, this is average across every state by ZipRecruiter. It's legit. The average job for an EMT is $35,000 a year because it's so easy to do. You're looking at less than 300 hours usually to become an EMT.
You know what I did is because a lot of firefighters are EMTs.
That's just an add-on.
I know. So shame on me.
Okay, so let me give you one. Maybe it gets you kind of going. The highest performing, it does take the most amount of time, but it's actually the highest paid certification on average, dental hygienist. Ooh. And I've always heard that. You're looking at $75,000 to $100,000 a year.
Wow.
Big money. Big money as a dental hygienist. You don't have to go to school. Don't have to have a degree. You go get your cert. Usually takes a couple years.
Architects got to be up there then.
So these are, it doesn't seem like it has architect, attorney, doctors on this one.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Well, I think it's because it's everything that can be done under 2 years.
Oh.
So every one of these is under 2 years licensing.
Okay.
Best bang for your buck under 2 years.
I hear you.
So another fun one.
I'm going to say maybe an air conditioning tech.
Dude, that one's a good one.
Plumber. Those guys make a shit ton.
Plumbers make a lot of money.
Yeah.
Electricians take electricians as well. Takes a lot of time though to become a certified electrician or plumber. So it's not a good bang for your buck.
So I thought it took a long time to become a master. I thought it was relatively easy to become an apprentice.
This is a certified licensed plumber or a licensed electrician.
Okay.
You're looking at 5,000 to 6,000 hours. Dude, that's 3 years, 4 years almost.
Shit, I had no idea.
Yeah. Good money in those roles.
Great.
And even an apprentice is going to be making good money usually, right? Huh. So what you're looking at is for the other four, and this is best bang for your buck, right? This is like the best case scenario. Low amount of hours to get there and high
earning potential.
So you got dental hygienist. It's actually a good amount of hours, but still the highest earning potential. Drone pilot. Crazy, right? Apparently UPS and FedEx are hiring drone pilots. You got, I guess, people that are going.
What do they make it as a drone pilot?
They have them in here at $42,000 a year, but it takes 16 hours. So you see the ratio there, right? You can go get certified in a weekend and make good money. Now, I don't know how many people are actually doing that, but that's what it is.
That's unique. Okay.
Very unique.
I would have never got drone
Here's
pilot.
one that I've actually looked into doing possibly.
What's that?
For just a little side gig. Home inspector.
You have told me this.
So home inspectors, how crazy is that? It takes usually 200 to 300 hours.
That's a good amount of time.
$65,000 a year. And you're self-employed. You're not, no one that's a home inspector is normally employed by somebody.
So you're
self-employed.
Do it on your own?
You do it on your own. You're essentially an independent contractor if you want to work for somebody else, or you do your own little self-employment deal. Kind of cool. A little LLC of some sort. But home inspector, these guys are essentially just showing up at a house that's going to be sold. They spend usually 2 to 3 hours doing a home inspection. There's pretty much zero liability. You pretty much say that on your form, but you're just essentially providing information. Crazy. They're making very good money for very little licensing requirements. So home inspector, massage therapist. So massage therapist,
really?
Makes 2 to 3 times more than any of the other Cosmo type fields. So, and it takes half as much time to become one.
How long does it take?
This one says about 500 hours. So
wow,
500
that's
hours.
A good amount of time.
It is. Cosmo, though, you're looking at 2,200 hours.
No way.
Yeah, for hair people, I guess.
What about esthetician?
Esthetician, I thought was on here. I can't see it.
Because I feel like all those little med spas are.
Yeah, I don't see esthetician. It could be underneath another word that I don't know. I don't see him on here. Again, it's just like a little graph.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful. Like, it makes it easy to kind of see which ones are going to be the higher performing ones. But I thought that was kind of fun because I'm like, these are things that you could go get licensed, and now you're part of a select group in a market.
Well, you know what's interesting to me, though? So that dental hygienist.
Yeah.
Does that require any college?
I don't think so. No.
So you can make $75,000 to $100,000 right out of high school.
It does take 4,000 hours, though.
That is a lot of time.
That's like 4 years. So you're probably going to school. I would imagine maybe associates, and you're getting on-the-job training at somewhere. And I did hear, so here's kind of, there's a caveat to all of these, of course. Dental hygienist, it's a part-time job 90% of the time.
Oh, so actually landing a $75,000 to $100,000 gig.
Well, I think that's still what they make.
Are you talking like prorated for being part-time?
Yeah. And the reason it's part-time is most dentists don't like to pay benefits. You didn't know that?
No.
Oh, yeah. If you go to your dentist's office, there's a reason dental hygienists normally only work 2 or 3 days. They want to keep them under 30 hours or whatever.
32, I think.
Yeah. And so it's kind of like, that's kind of norm in the dentistry field, is to keep your dental. You have usually 5 or 6 dental hygienists that work 2 to 3 days a week. And your only full-time person is like an accountant or like your front desk gal. Everyone else is part-time. But you pay them more, and they're okay with it. This is like, part-time mom, part-time dental hygienist. I dated a girl that her mom was a dental hygienist for a little while, and I kind of got a little insider track on that. Kind of funny, right?
Interesting, yeah.
But hey, you're making good money, and if you have a husband that maybe has insurance, that's a pretty good, let's say, part-time job.
So what is the difference between like a trade school and like a licensing school, if you will?
I don't know. They're very similar, I would say.
So like being a mechanic, that's not like a licensure, right? But you can go to trade school to be like a mechanic.
Yeah. I think they have trade schools for electricians, though, and a lot of things that go into the licensing field. So I know in the construction industry specifically, all those are trades, but most of them are on the job trade learned, right? But I think they're I don't know, because I'm guessing welding, you go to trade school for that. You can,
but then being a general contractor that you manage the welder, right?
Yeah.
You have it's a license.
Maybe we should do one about trades and stuff. I was watching some about Mike Rowe, and he was getting
dirty
interviewed.
jobs.
Yeah, he was getting interviewed by this guy, business guy. I think I sent you one about him, Pat David Bet or something like that.
The thing you sent me today was Dave Ramsey, I thought.
Yeah, I sent you some though a while back. But anyways, he's interviewing Mike Rowe and just kind of like talking about, because Mike Rowe is always about trade school. That's really what his 2 cents is. Hey, you can make a shit ton of money, go to trade school, stop, fooling around in 4-year degree programs, and then fooling around for another 4 to 5 years, not knowing what you're doing, getting your degree, and then never using it, never applying it. His thing is, hey, go to trade school, go get real on the job training, become a business owner, right? Because most of those tradesmen, if they do a good job and then they save some money, they end up owning their own little business, right? And hiring their very first guy. They don't become corporations by any means, but
You make an honest living.
they make a very honest living, right? So yeah, I was listening to it and I was just kind of thinking about, man, maybe we should do one about trades, because we did one about the different types of schools you could go to, but maybe we should do one specifically about trades and, hey, what's the value of going to trade school in today's, culture or society? That'd be kind of fun.
That'd be interesting just to look at it from a monetary value.
Yeah.
And then almost go over the non-quantifiable outlook almost.
100%. Yeah.
And how it's viewed.
Stress too.
Stress.
It's a stress too.
Shit, yeah.
Never know. Okay, so when you were doing research, anything else that you found that was kind of interesting to uncover license-wise?
So we already hit on this, but the sheer fact that over a quarter of Americans require a license for their occupation.
Little piece of paper on the wall.
It's borderline laughable to me.
Right.
Because honestly, what the government did, and whether it be federal or state, or both, they just created another revenue stream.
For you to have an honest job.
Because it's like, oh, I had to pay the government to get that license. And oh, by the way, I have to pay the government on the funds that I get from having that license that gives me the job.
You mean taxes?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like, what an interesting concept.
Like, to be able
if that's not double taxation without representation,
to be able to work in the field that I want to work in,
I have to pay you.
I have to pay you.
Like without any earned income from said.
And then while I'm
job.
doing the job, I need to also pay you.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was my real heartburn. And then, because I read that article too. I forget what source that was, but how in the last 50 years we've, 5x'd, 6x'd from 5% to almost 30%.
Crazy. Here's
so
some funny ones. Okay, go ahead.
That one was just, that was probably the most off-putting stat that I came across is just, and all it is this government getting more money.
100%. 100%. And also getting rid of, I would say, community. I'm going back to this. I think it takes away from neighbors talking to each other. I know it sounds so hypothetical or so like high level, but I think you have, how well do you know your neighbors? Well, if I was looking for a good barbershop, why wouldn't I just talk to my neighbor? Like, why wouldn't I get it. You have friends at work, but really your circle as you get older and you get out of school, right? Your friend circle kind of gets smaller.
So do you think that licensure is a barrier to wanting to go to the profession?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So help me understand, and maybe this is an outlier. How come this was, I haven't fact checked this in the last year. So help me understand how at one point last year, there are more real estate agents than homes for sale in America when you have to be a licensed real estate agent. So if it's such a barrier, how come the entire market supply was actually less from a home standpoint than the people that could sell them?
I don't know if that's to do with the barrier.
No, but that's what I'm saying. I think it was almost a lack of barrier. Like, I don't think licensure is a deterrent, is what I'm saying. So that's why I don't understand how it's eroding a community.
Oh, okay, maybe. Yeah, I'm a little confused on where you went, but let me just maybe state what I was saying, and then maybe I have a feedback for you.
Maybe I'm
what I mean is like, I don't know. Let's say I see some guy installing solar panels on his house.
Yep.
Four doors down.
Okay.
I don't know the guy that lives down four. I know my kind of 3 neighbors in kind of each direction, right? I kind of know about 9 of my neighbors. But let's say 6 doors down, I see a guy and I've been kind of thinking about getting solar panels.
Okay.
Well, clearly that's the guy that I need to go talk to. I get bombarded with phone calls and emails and advertisements for solar. I'm sure you do.
Twice a day, every day, twice on
Right.
Sundays.
That's probably the guy hey, why do you make the decision to go at that company? That's who I should go talk to. But I think the whole licensing thing has driven that down a little bit and made it more kind of like, hey, there's only so many companies that can do it. I don't need to talk to them. I can go to a Yelp page and see all of the companies that are licensed in the state and get my Yelp rating. I know this sounds kind of weird.
Yeah, I'm trying to follow.
Yeah, I know. I think the solar panel thing kind of messed it all up because not many people are probably buying solar panels. Okay, so here's one. So I just started baking some bread.
Okay.
Right? I think I gave you guys a loaf.
You did? It was great.
I'm not saying it's a hobby by any means. I've probably made, 10, 15 loaves in the last 2 weeks.
Are you shitting me?
Anna thinks I'm fucking nuts right now.
What about your sourdough?
I haven't, dude. The sourdough is hard. Now I know why it's so hard. I haven't been able to do it. I've been making a bunch of whole wheat.
So you make a loaf of bread a day, basically.
Sometimes it's like 2 or 3. Yeah. Like on a Sunday I made 3 loaves. Dude, they are fire. They are so good.
I agree they're good, but
I've gotten so good at it too. So plus it's fun. Like it's cheap ingredients, flour, water, a little salt. And me and Lillian have so much fun messing with the flour. She like eats it raw. But let's say I want to sell bread right now to my neighbors.
okay.
I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm making a bunch of bread. I kind of like doing it. Let me sell a loaf for $5. Fresh homemade bread. It's better than you're buying in the store. There's no preservatives in it. $5 a loaf. That's probably what you're paying. Pretty close to what you're paying.
Sure.
I make my money back plus a little bit of effort. That's honest day's work, right? I can make 10 of those a day. Yeah. Let's say they make a license for that. I'm not meeting any of my neighbors that want to buy bread from me. And I'm just saying, like, I think this licensing kind of gets in the way of people working together locally nearby each other.
Okay.
That's what I'm trying to get to. Like it like makes it like, oh, I need to work with a business that's 10 miles away to buy. I need to work with Fry's. I need to buy.
No more farmers markets.
Bingo. Our farmers markets, how many of those people have to get a license? If they had to, they probably wouldn't be there. That's what I'm trying to say. I think even farmers markets, like our farmers markets are kind of like boutique farmers markets. Let's be honest.
We're very spoiled.
Okay. If you went to rural, Ohio or Iowa, their farmers markets are actually legitimate farmers markets because they got a little extra from their farm that year. You see what I'm saying? Like, I think it deprives the community of actually working together for something.
So now I'm trying to get there.
Okay.
I can get there.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I can get there now.
I'm sorry. It's a hard connection.
So, while I may not agree with him, and while I do think the motives are, I think there's a little bit of foul play, malintent from the government standpoint as far as just arbitrarily assigning, yep, that job needs a license now. You're not bullshitting me. A part-time security guard, I need a license?
Unarmed security guard. Now, guarantee the armed one has to have one. But I'm making fun of it because an unarmed security guard has to have a license. And I think it was like 22 states. I got funny ones for you.
Good. I can use this.
Okay. Unarmed security. Auctioneer.
That
That guy. 18 states require a license to talk on a microphone. A milk sampler. So you're down at dairy and you're going to drink a little milk. You have to have a license for that. A license to drink milk. Yeah. I know you're trying to get those wheels spinning to make this make sense, but it doesn't make sense. What's the other one here? Oh, yeah. I don't know why this makes sense, but I had the security guard unarmed. A transit city bus driver.
Oh, like a CDL?
It's not the same.
Oh, I figured you just need a commercial driver's license.
Nope. You have to have a transit city license to work for the city as a bus driver. It's like a bus driver certification. I met a guy. You know how much money those fucking guys make? So I'm sitting in the sauna.
45, 42?
Oh, buddy, way wrong. Way
30,
wrong.
35, 37?
Way more. Yes. Oh, yeah. I'm sitting in the sauna with this guy. And we're bullshitting, talking, and all of a sudden I was like, what do you do, He's like, I'm a Phoenix City bus driver. It's like, shit, man, that's cool. How long you been doing? He's like, 17 years. Like, okay. And he's like, I also work for Delta. At nights. I work a couple nights a week. And I was like, man, they don't pay enough? He's like, oh, no, they pay me fucking good. I was like, whoa. Like, how much are we talking? He's like, I make $72,500. He's like, I'm like, is that like, are you the highest? He's like, oh, no, that's mandated for 17 years. I get, every guy that works 17 years gets exactly that amount of money. $42 an hour. $42 an hour. Guaranteed. If you've been there for 17 years. They start at $28 an hour. Start. A 19-year-old kid. So, and then he's like, yeah, I do the Delta thing because I like to, travel with my wife all the time. We take a lot of vacation and we get free flights. I was like, what? This guy's figured it out. He's got a nice city job. That means good benefits. Right? $72,000 a year.
He makes $48 an hour.
I think it was 42, I think I said.
What the fuck ever. I'm sorry, maybe I misheard.
What? Exactly. So when I saw that, I was like, and a license is required? He's like, yeah, I had to go through some training and shit. And I'm like, so what's the deal? He's like, well, I got the night shift, so I get paid a little more. I got to deal with, the hoodlums of night. Yeah, but whatever. He's like, dude, he was a bigger.
Oh, I'm
guy.
sure.
But still, I was like, fuck. So throw some funny ones out there for you. Some funny story too. Yeah, he blew me away.
Wow. So, this whole licensure thing.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out what it solves.
So you were saying the government a minute ago, and it got my wheels turning. And maybe this is what you were trying to say, what it solves. I think there was good intentions. Do you agree? I think they were trying to make sure that consumers were not getting taken advantage of. What do you think?
So I would say that for occupations that can cause harm,
Okay.
right? So pilots, doctors, engineers, architects. I understand that. Right? And I'm just talking about those four, but I'm sure there's others that I'm omitting. But if I can cause you harm, I get almost the security blanket, the protection that the government is trying to do. Like, hey, I know you say you're an engineer, but are you actually here? Pass this test.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yep. You're smart. You're smart enough to be an engineer.
Yeah.
But whenever I start thinking about hairdressers or estheticians or manicure people, what is that? Nail technicians. That's when I'm like, okay, I just think you're money grabbing right now.
You know, it's kind of funny. I had this argument with my wife because she was a massage therapist, like
Right.
licensed, right, and all that. And you know, the thing I thought was funny is I made fun of estheticians, the people that do skincare. She's like, you know, they can like ruin your face. Like if they use too much of a certain like product or something like that, they can like do an acid burn and you'll be like disfigured forever. I'm like, no, I didn't know that. I guess I'm never going.
I just thought they like wax your eyebrows and
well,
stuff.
apparently they can rip off your eyebrow or, you know, like, let's just say, like,
Okay.
but still, like, that's disfiguring. And some of that stuff, I don't know if I'm sure Brittany's gotten a facial before.
A couple times, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And their face gets all jacked up for a couple days. But if they do that for too long or they leave some things on there, like, they can kind of mess up, like, scar people. So to your point, that can cause harm.
Okay, so maybe I was discrediting the career, so shame on me. But do you understand what my line in the sand is?
Yeah.
I don't think for an unarmed security guard. I don't think for outside of a CDL, a bus driver. I don't think a milk taster. I think some of these are just getting ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know, and even to your point, you were trying to add a little levity to the conversation, which is obviously, of course, fun and everything. But it's also proving my point to where I do think the government originally had good intent behind a select few. Like back in the 50s, it makes sense that 1 in 20 jobs, or I'm sorry, 5% required a license. Now that we're working our way almost to a third, come on, man.
Yeah, and I kind of feel closer to where you're at. I might be getting closer to zero. And here's one that I'm going to throw out there that I'm sure some of our listeners might think I'm crazy on. Doctors, right? And the reason I'm saying that is how many doctors have you went to and they looked physically fit, like they were going to live a long time. And you're like, man, that's the epitome of how I want to live my life.
Mm-hmm.
Did a doctor look like that?
A couple, but most, unfortunately, don't. I wouldn't say most. That's not proper.
Do you think they know what they're doing wrong? Probably, right?
They have to.
Yeah, right. They've had the education. But they're not doing it. And I get to that and I'm thinking, okay, well, and the one that got me kind of thinking about is the athletic trainer. So that's the very first one on here, just because it starts with an A.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I go to the gym, I see athletic trainers, and, you know, probably 1 out of every 5 of them or 1 out of every 3 of them does not physically look
Oh, I know. It
athletic.
really bothers me too.
Okay. And I think about doctors, and I was like, okay, well, if I'm making fun of the athletic trainer that doesn't look physically fit and they're trying to get somebody physically fit, well, what is a doctor supposed to be? The epitome of health. Well, I'm sorry, doctor, you're obese. It's like going to a dentist that's missing teeth.
Well, did you try to, whenever Anna was giving birth, did you try to help her and coach her through?
Yeah.
Do you have a vagina?
No.
Can
But
you
moral
give
support.
birth? Okay.
Yeah, like I was just like, hey, everything's gonna be okay. Like I wasn't telling her what she was supposed to do.
But you see what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
you were trying to be there for her,
Yeah.
you know, through your limited training.
Yeah.
Well, they had extensive training, so they know what to do.
Yeah.
They're just lazy.
They're just not doing it themselves.
Yeah.
But they're now telling you what they expect you to do without them being able to do it themselves. You see the issue there? Is they're trying to tell you to do something that they're not even disciplined enough to do. So I'm wondering if that advice is...
So it's almost like a broke financial advisor, a skinny chef.
Exactly. So I'm just wondering, when you see these people, let's just say, an interior designer.
Oh my gosh. Did you see how many freaking hours it takes to become an interior designer?
And
2,000 hours.
And you go in their house and let's say
beige.
There's no feng shui or whatever the word is.
Feng shui.
Feng shui. None of the rooms make sense. The rooms, all the beds face the door or whatever the word is. And you're like, okay, well, you're not living what you're selling. And that's one thing I was kind of thinking is, okay, well, this licensing thing, I think I might take my advice from a friend more so than that you have a sheet of paper buried in your closet in your office. Which one actually means more to me as a consumer? My neighbor recommending them to me, or that Brittany or Anna has a piece of paper that they threw out because it has certification of Arizona State on it. What actually means more to me as a consumer? And I was thinking, I think I'd rather a recommendation from somebody that I like.
But how wrong is that, though? So think about that. So while I understand in principle, let me just push back a little bit and let me see if I can't alter that perspective.
Do it, dude.
So right now, let's just use architects, for example.
Mm-hmm.
There are thousands of people across the country that get rejected of becoming an architect,
I want to get into this, yeah.
Whether you can't pass the test, whatever the case may be.
Yep.
Right? But let's say Bobby down the street, hey, his house looks pretty cool, and he has SketchUp, actually. And because in certain states, Arizona being one of them, you actually don't need to be a licensed architect in order to build a custom home.
Yep.
So you said, hey, Bobby, I got you. Like, your house looks pretty cool. I'll use you, or I'll use your guy, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
So now you're just using Bobby or Bobby's guy with a very limited sample size. Whereas the state of Arizona, they review thousands of applicants a week, or I'm sorry, a year.
Yeah.
And they reject most.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that's kind of my pushback is, from a sample size, whenever you're only relying on your neighbor, it's not like they vetted many. You have no idea if it was one call, one close.
Well, I could also, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No. And I hear what you're saying because you are getting a very raw, very unfiltered feedback.
Yeah.
But you're also getting a very small sample size.
Well, that person would come over to my house.
Uh-huh.
I would invite, let's say Bobby is the architect.
Sure.
Hey, Bobby, come over to my house. Show me some of your portfolio.
Mm-hmm.
That would be the first normal thing I would ask.
Okay.
And he says, I've only actually designed my own house and their house. Huh. Okay. That doesn't make me feel very confident. So right away as a consumer, I'd say, two times. Okay, so what makes you feel confident you can do my house? He's like, well, hey, you know what? You see my work. Those two you really liked. Also, my fee is 1/3 the price of someone else because he didn't have to pay the licensing fee.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. That makes sense. Now, I, as a consumer, can make the choice of the value that I'm going to get. I liked it firsthand. My neighbor gave it to me. He showed me his 2 projects, and he's also letting me know that I'm going to get 1/3 of the price. And the cool thing for Bobby is that he's able to tip the water. He's going to add my house to the portfolio, another, and hopefully if he does a good job, he's going to build a successful business. Now I look at that and I say, sorry, man, you know what, dude, even at free, 2 does not make me happy. Okay, well, Bobby will do that over and over again until what happens?
He gets enough portfolio. Gets enough experience.
Enough people tell him no. What's he going to do? He's going to go work for another architect that's established and build his portfolio. Right? So what happens there is the market fixes itself. Like at a certain point, Bobby's can't, pay his grocery bill because no one is allowing him to be the 3rd project. He got away with the first one that's a family member or whatever. He did his own house. And then no one's hiring him because, no one trusts him enough. So I just think like that's an easier way to do it where I say, sorry, man, I'm going to take a chance with you or I'm not going to. And this actually gets me into the question of, does licensing, unfortunately, negatively affect consumers' price points?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because of the exclusivity, now I know I can charge for your ass because you need me.
That's what I'm getting to.
You need that stamp.
Exactly.
You literally cannot erect that building without my stamp.
Bingo. So now I can charge more for my license. And who gets impacted in the end?
The consumer.
Bingo.
Well, with all things, right? You can trace that back.
But that's pretty big.
But I would want to push back a little bit. I mean, this is a supply and demand. If the individual recognizes that there is a shortage of supply and the demand in order to build more buildings, whatever. So
you would go into that field?
Yeah, they're just capitalizing on an opportunity, right?
Well,
isn't that the beauty of America?
Unfortunately, licensing boards actually don't allow that. Technically, because they don't want to impact negatively the people that have already been licensed and the fees that they're receiving every year.
So they control the supply.
Licensing boards, specifically for professional type fields, will manipulate exam pass rates. They only want, let's say, 5 people to pass a year in a certain area.
Well, I remember, just firsthand, whenever Britt was studying for these tests, there's this one, it's PPD. It's project something in development, maybe project programming and development. I don't know. I just remember PPD. It is known as like, the widowmaker of these exams, like in all 6 of them.
Mm-hmm.
And the range of pass rate is like 32% to 42% for this particular test. I was like, what the? I was like, do you need a 32 or 42 to pass? She's like, no. Like the passing grade changes to where only 32 or 42% of the people that take that test.
How many people can
pass?
How many got their certifications last year?
Like, what in the literal hell? Of 32 to 40, and you don't know what a passing grade is. And that's what really bothered me. So she's now obviously a licensed architect. On all 6 tests, she has no idea if she scored 100 or a 50. She just knows that she scored in the top 32%.
They needed 30 architects that year, and she was one of the 30 to apply. She luckily was not one of the 20 that got, lowered the test scores. But it's just one of those things that licensing boards do this to cut the supply. They don't allow Bobby to design my house. They don't want Bobby to design the house. What would happen?
It would dilute the market.
Dilute the price that they could charge. Not only do they allow, manipulate test exam rates, which you just stated clearly occurs.
Couldn't believe that. Yeah. That is a very real practice. You can look that up.
They impose waiting periods between when you can take the next set of tests. You know about that?
Yep.
They make fees absorbently high in many cases, reducing the amount of people that are in lower or middle income areas to even be able to apply. Mainly the bar test, right? So those bar tests, unless you're coming from a family that has some amount of wealth.
And I'm sorry, the bar test
is for attorneys.
Thank you.
Unless you have some amount of wealth, you're not taking that test. Unless you have some funds already, you're not taking those tests. Just like architects also. Pretty much prohibitively costly.
Oh my gosh.
For somebody that's not already working.
The study material, the test, it's all bullshit.
So those are things that I look at and I'm like, okay, yes, it could be to, actually be for the state's money, but it's not like large amount of money like tax dollars is.
No.
Really what I see that is to put a strain on the supply, thus to increase the wages for those roles artificially as if there were no licenses. Because you agree that occurs, right?
Oh, yeah, irrefutably.
Okay. Because there's plenty of people that can do a lot of these licensed jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And what would
happen?
Like
your story that you illustrated earlier.
Exactly. They could do the job, and it probably would decrease the wages 10, 20, 30%. Okay, well, the board doesn't want that to happen. That's the part that gets me a little upset. So let's talk about, let's put them in 2 categories. Let's put them into, let's say, possibility of earning over $100,000 and under $100,000 roles. So over $100,000, we have pilots, medical doctors, you have attorneys, you have architects, you have, what else? Anything else you can think of?
Hold on. Plumbers?
I'm going to put those in the trades, which are under 100,000. Now I get it. They own their own business. They're probably over 100, but if they're an employee,
pilots,
I put pilots.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't hear that.
Pilots.
Hell, evidently once you get 20 years probably as being a fucking bus driver.
No, he's close to maxing out. Okay, let's just say those. Those are kind of what I would call the probably long-term career.
Maybe engineers.
Oh yeah, engineers. It was weird. They never popped up in certification. I was wondering how that worked.
Surely you have to be a licensed engineer, right?
I don't know, dude. I could not figure that out. Because I looked, and there's lots of different types of engineer paths, and so maybe there are certain types that need a license, but I saw insurance requirements. I never saw a license requirement. So look up I'm sure a civil engineer may have a license, but I don't think a mechanical engineer or an electrical engineer does.
Yeah. So I'm seeing engineer, licensing board by state, professional association.
What kind of engineer, though?
I'm looking at. I have 2%. Come on.
2% battery?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Shit, I'm against the clock right now. I don't like it. Let's go to Arizona.
What are you using there? DuckDuckGo or Google?
Don't tell Brittany. I'm using Google. So Arizona State Board of Technical Registration.
Registration's kind of different than a license, though, I bet, huh? Maybe.
I mean, this is the
Board of Engineers.
Alabama State Board of Licensure and Professional Engineers and Surveyors.
That's
Alaska State Board of Registration for Architects, Engineers, and Land Surveyors.
So again, I don't know what kind of engineer it could be.
Neither I. I mean, I couldn't.
But let's just say, I guess there's lots of different types, right? I don't think, an electrical engineer are guys that do semiconductors.
Yeah.
Shit. But let's just say, okay, engineers are probably in that 100,000 plus. So we have two different categories.
Project managers. Isn't there a license for project management?
No, I think
or is that a
certification?
Certification, you're right.
So let's just two different categories. Let's say $100,000 plus and less than $100,000 plus. Now, I'm not saying the dollar amount quantifies the role by any means here, guys.
No.
All I'm saying is that those are things that
society
has said there's some cost here. Like maybe human life, economical cost, ecological cost. You imagine a building falling over, right? Things like that. There's just costs that are pretty high, and we want some technically proficient individuals doing it. So in those two kind of categories, if you build a building, there are 500 occupants. It's not the same as doing one chemical peel and messing up one individual's face. You're ruining 500 people's lives.
Yep.
Big difference.
Yep.
What's your general perception of where license should be in those two categories? Do you think it should be different, or do you think, maybe both of them should have it? What are you thinking?
Do I think the license requirements should be different for these 5 career fields that we identified versus the others?
Yeah, let's say the
spectrum.
You think the people that are kind of in the higher income brackets that have far-reaching cost versus kind of maybe individual cost.
Yeah. I mean, I think we've borderline made fun of, some of the trainings that are required for some of these, the cosmetologists, right? The barbers.
Yeah.
It's borderline laughable to sit through 2,000 hours to braid hair where there's literally zero cost or zero risk of a human life for misbraiding someone's hair. So I personally, as we're concluding here, I think unless there is a reasonable assumption that a loss of life can occur should this person not be proficient in their job, I don't think a license should be required.
I think we're going 0.
0. No licensing. Take it all away tomorrow.
Yeah, I went back and forth the entire time. And as you were saying that,
didn't feel good.
I was thinking, which job would I absolutely think that most people would think I would want a licensed professional
doctor?
Doctor. That's 100%. What I'm thinking. Maybe I'm a bad individual. I haven't been to the doctor for 10 years. I have not went to a doctor's office.
I did my yearly physical.
I haven't been in 10 years. I went and got a blood test. I've waited so long for me to be able to get a blood test independently, not get a script. Just so I don't have to go to a doctor to get a script. right? I finally found a website that allowed for it. I wanted to actually look through my own blood panel by myself. Not saying that I'm educated enough to do it, but I don't think a doctor is in most cases either. Like I think doctors, unfortunately, they have, a degree that they got 20 years ago. They got trained 20 years ago. Things have changed in 20 years. 20 years ago, they said that eggs were bad for you.
Now they're the superfood.
That's weird. Okay, so how right are they? And so I just look at it like we went to my doctor appointment for my daughter. No, I think it was my daughter. Yeah, it was my daughter. So this is about 2 years ago. She's 6 months old. We went there, and they're like, okay, have you started supplementing with formula? Pediatrician doctor, this woman doctor, MD, right? Not like anybody else. It was an MD, and she's like, have you started supplementing with
supplementing breast milk with formula?
Yeah, like adding formula into her routine. My wife's like, no, I've just been breastfeeding. She's like, okay, is there any reason why not? She's like, is there any reason why? My wife, of course, is a little aggressive, more aggressive, because I don't know this whole thing. I'm all into it. I'm new to it. My wife has done research on it. And I was kind of wondering, I'm like, that's weird. She's like in like the 1st percentile of weight. 99th percentile.
I was going to say.
99th percentile.
I saw a little. There's no fucking
She
way.
was in the 1%.
Yeah, exactly.
She was the 99th percentile in weight, yet the doctor was wondering why we hadn't started formula yet. And that's because what they were taught is that you just need to tell their patients that in order to gain weight, you need to be on formula or so many calories per day. So they weren't taking in all the information that we were giving them, including the birth or the weight of the child during the visit, sitting right there in front of you. And I looked at that and I was thinking, I don't know if this certification or this license matters. I'm sure a lot of our listeners are going to push back and say, oh, doctors have a place. I agree. And I keep on hearing, people saying, maybe there's just, there are doctors that are amazing, but there's also a lot of doctors that suck. And I was thinking, well, wait a minute here. Maybe it's because the state is doing the licensing of these doctors that's lowered the bar. And I was like, what if there was what if there are the good doctors, just like schools, right? Let's say there's a good doctor in the neighborhood and I want to become a doctor. I go and get my bachelor's degree and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do pre-med or whatever. I'm going to be a good doctor. I want to be a doctor. Well, I would go take an apprenticeship with the doctor in Chandler, Arizona, become an apprentice doctor with the good doctor that everyone wants to be with. I would say, hey, you know what? I want to be an apprentice. I'll take a low wage. I'll work 40 hours a week. I'll do this for 2 years. And then you can give me a junior doctor job. And I'll work for you. Kind of like what Brittany did, to be honest.
Yeah, basically.
Right? And I'm wondering, why wouldn't we not want that? Why wouldn't we want the best doctors training the next generation of doctors? Instead, we have this idea of the state tells you, oh, you're a good doctor.
So I like where you're at in principle. Here's my one pushback. Let's continue using medical.
Yeah.
I like that it takes 7 years to get through med school.
Yeah.
I like that there's a rigorous licensure process. Because what that does is that takes some derelict, like, oh, fuck that. I'm not going to commit to 15 years of my life in school and residency and $1 million in student debt. I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
So I like the barriers. Because right now, any girl in the world, or I guess country, can take a couple pictures of her ass and become an Instagram influencer damn near overnight.
How crazy is that?
But they're a model now.
They make as much money as a doctor right now.
But they're a model, right? They take a couple pictures of their butt,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden they have 10,000 followers, and now they are a classified, self-proclaimed model.
They got an advertising deal, yeah.
So that's what scares me is a couple of guys get together to have a few beers. You know what? Hey, you should start mixing this ingredient and that ingredient, and that's going to cure your ailment.
Yeah, but remember I said, hey, the best doctors, why are they the best?
They have the best results.
Bingo. Okay, cool. I want to go study with that guy.
Okay.
I'm going to go to med school. I'm fine with med school. I'm just not going to the board of doctors or the board of medical for Arizona and going through their courses and passing a test.
The ethics board.
Whatever that is. I'm not doing any of that.
Board?
If I go to a doctor, I don't know ethics board. I don't really know what that is.
They say do a background check and make sure you're not a fucker.
Okay, well, yeah. I'm all right with doing a background check. But if I go, I'm going to go get a background check when I go get employed by this doctor, the best doctor in this area. Or let's just say there's top 10 ranked doctors in Chandler, Arizona. I'm going to go get a job. This guy's going to pass a background
weirdly
check.
ranked.
What do you mean?
I never understood.
Top 10?
Oh, he's one of the top doctors.
Yeah. I'll go get a job. I say, hey, you know what, Mr. Doctor?
I just don't know how you rank them.
Best results.
Isn't that subjective as hell?
10,000 patients and 10,000 people that are cured? I don't know.
Yeah,
but I go get a job
like
there.
A scoreboard.
I know, but I go get a job there.
99-1.
Yeah. I go get a job there. And then that doctor would essentially say, dude, you suck. You're not disciplined. Bye. Fire you. And then I would go down the line. And if nobody rehires me because I keep on getting fired at places, I essentially have now done the exact same thing that you're stating.
The licensing.
Exactly. I'm not good enough to pass the course.
I just like barriers to entry for.
Is that not a barrier though? Getting hired and working underneath somebody else that actually is in the job every day. That's a barrier. Like they're going to be able to smell a fake way better than a person that works at a desk job at the board of medical. Don't you think? That has not practiced medicine for probably 10 years. Who do you think can smell the fakeness earlier? The doctor can.
I get where you're at.
I know it sounds a little too utopia-ish.
It does. And that's why I'm afraid, just because of how easy it is to, hell, we're professional podcasters now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, because there's literally, you can get drunk by a fire pit and buy $1,000 worth of fucking audio video equipment and boom, you're a podcaster.
Yeah, but there's barriers there still. There's still barriers. I don't know, man. I see the license thing as I'm like, most of it is on the job training anyways.
I know, but it's still a barrier to where it takes a dedicated person to even try down that path. And it takes.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I can't, if it deals with life, if life is at risk, I want the person responsible for that project, for that person, whatever, to be held accountable. And I also want the state to ensure that's it. I signed off on them. I screwed up on that. Creates another barrier. Only for things that can impact life. You're gonna have to be pretty damn convincing in a short amount of time to get me off that one. It's gotten ridiculous. This licensure.
Okay, so we're on the same page there. We're on the same page where, hey, they've taken it from like 5 or 6 or 10 occupations. Let's just say 10.
Let's go
10 occupations, 1 in 20 to 800. And it's climbing.
That's ludicrous.
Okay, so really we have a disagreement on the 10. And I think most of our listeners are probably thinking, what the fuck's wrong with Cody? I think I want my doctor to know how to do their job.
Mm-hmm.
And my pushback is, do they know how to do their job based on the antidote from me and my wife's experience, based on my experience of not really going to the doctor? I don't know. I guess maybe I'm kind of in the page where like maybe doctors don't know what they're doing, but maybe doctors are a bad one. Attorneys, shit. Maybe I should have went there. I don't know if a lot of people like attorneys. Okay. I guess we're going to kind of agree and disagree.
We do agree that it's gotten ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I think I'm just 10 careers, basically, is where I'm at, and you're at 0.
Yeah.
So we're both going from 800. I'm just going to 10. You're just going to 0. We still think it's ludicrous. I'm just wanting a 95% reduction. You want 100% reduction.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a reasonable alignment.
We're closer to the same answer than we are.
I just think you're a little too absolute to where I can't get up. And honestly, guys, I'm so freaking financially invested, my wife and I, in this licensure. I can't give it up in my own head.
I already knew that was a problem.
I'm sold to NCARB.
Okay, guys. So before we even started this, me and Jared both said to each other, like, man, we've lucked out. We didn't have to do any of this, and we make pretty good money.
We won't say the exact comment.
Is this whole licensing does it actually pay out?
Does it?
It does. Some roles, definitely, right? Dental hygienist, drone pilot. Like, what the fuck is that? I think that
sounds like something fun. I could see you and I getting like a 30 rack over a weekend and us just knocking out that 16-hour training.
I'll throw out a little fun thing out here because I have a drone.
Yeah.
Right. We lost our cat, and a week ago we lost Trunks. He's back. We found him.
Yeah, I saw him today.
And it was Friday. It was actually the night that you guys came over. He went missing. We couldn't find him all night. So Saturday we're looking, Anna and the kiddos go looking for him, and so I'm doing work in the backyard. I'm like, I gotta get some stuff done. You guys can go look for him. I went and looked for a little while, but I couldn't find him. So I was like, I'll get some work done. You guys can go keep on looking. But then all of a sudden I had a bright idea. I was like, you know what? He's probably in a backyard, but we can't go look in backyards. I'll use my drone. So I don't know how legal that is, but I took my drone and started just flying over backyards, and I would just stop and I would just do like a quick analysis of the backyard to see if I saw any cats. Right? And I did this.
Creeped on all your neighbors.
Yeah, I didn't see nobody. Right? I saw a couple dogs. Didn't see Trunks. We found him though 2 nights later, fucking half mile away. Far, dude. Far. But still, kind of funny, right? Drone pilot. There was a use case right there for a drone pilot, kind of. I don't know.
I'll report you.
Missing persons.
You have not done that 16-hour training.
I think that's to make money off of it.
Let me just write in a letter and just to make sure.
Okay, guys. Really appreciate you guys joining us today. Six-Pack Discussions. Give us a follow on wherever you listen to your podcast. We are also now live on YouTube. So give us a subscribe. Smash it. We really want to hear from you. Write in the comments section anything that you guys think we should be covering.
Any screw-ups.
Yeah, we might have messed up here. Maybe we missed something that you guys think is hilarious.
Maybe you too think Cody's ridiculous.
Maybe you think that I am absolutely ridiculous. My wife's probably the influence, not me. So see you guys. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.